So I called Nate up. I was like, hey, dude, you want to come to work and be the CEO of this company? He's like, no, I don't. And here's what I think. As soon as we start doing what they're doing, we're no longer competing.
And we're live. Episode 8 of The Midland Show. Today we have a very special guest. He is none other than the founder of McGuinn Homes with almost 40 years in home building. He is one of the top 5 home builders in the state of South Carolina. Please, guys, welcome Mr. Wade McGuinn.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. We truly appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us. We know how valuable time is, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I've been watching you guys, and I love what you're doing and wouldn't miss the opportunity. It's a blessing to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We when we started this out, we said we wanted to bring in people in the industry and chat with them about their philosophy, their ideas, their mindset, everything like that. And that's what we're here to do today. Mindset. We really want to dive into your mindset, how you operate, what is it that drives you, get to know you, hopefully on a personal level, definitely on a professional level. And let's dive right into it. From inception to present day, what event, and I think we talked about this briefly right before we went live, but what event inspired you into a career of home building?
Well, I spent the first 11 years of my life, adult life, working with my father in the family business, which was the furniture business, manufacturing and selling furniture at retail. And I just woke up one day and realized it wasn't my dream. It was his dream, and I didn't really like it that much. So I decided to do something different. And real estate seemed pretty easy. I think if I had one gift in the furniture business, it was really just sales. I wasn't that good, as a carpenter on the manufacturing side, or really I'm not into accounting. So that was a place where I excelled. And I knew people in the real estate business made a lot of money, and I was, thinking that would be something to do. And then I really got called to go to seminary. I'd been fighting that for a long time. So I was already married and had 2 kids at that point. And I started seminary, and right away, first semester, I knew that wasn't going to work for me. I'm not a good student. I had a tough time even with high school, just focus and concentrating. Honestly, school seemed slow to me. And I felt like I was ahead, which was probably just my hubris. It probably wasn't true. But so I said, well, I'm going to go and do real estate. So the company that I worked for put me in a model home in a new home subdivision. And I started walking around those houses, and I was like, we were talking about framing before the show started. And I was like, man, I could go into a framed house and smell that lumber and see all the guys working with their great talent. And I thought, there's just something about this I really like. And so I worked there for a year and had one of those entrepreneurial, epiphanies where you think, golly, if this guy can do it, I can. He made it look easy. And so I just struck out on my own and built one house and sold one house. And then I built 2 houses and sold 2 houses. And we worked out of we didn't have a dining room table because we couldn't afford one. So we made our dining room into an office with a folding table. And we would do takeoffs and pay bills in there. And that's how it all got started.
Nice. Now, was all this in South Carolina? Have you been in South Carolina your whole time? Were you born and raised in Carolina?
Yeah, well, I came from Arizona. That's where my father's business was.
Okay.
Real short version of a long story. So my parents are from South Carolina. Uh-huh. But after the war, the big war, my dad's brother was the commander of the Air Force. And so they had to move all the Air Force from Europe back to the U.S., and they had nowhere to put all the planes. And so they just parked them all in the desert in Arizona at a place called Williams Field and Luke Field. And my dad's brother was the commander of the Air Force. And so all of them had gone to college. My dad was a journalist. His brother was an officer, and his other brother was a lawyer. And the guy that was my Uncle Pat, who was the commander of the Air Force, he said, "You guys got to come out here, man. This place is going to really be something one day." This is 1946. I mean, Arizona had been a state for whatever, 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is old days, right? And so they all went out there like just like pioneering. And my dad started the first newspaper out there called Jet Trails. And then over the years, he got into the furniture business. That's another long story. And so when I decided to get out of the furniture business, I really liked South Carolina. We had roots here. I had 40 cousins here. And so aunts and uncles here. So it wasn't random. This was a great place. And I never really liked living in the desert. I loved the mountains, the beach, fishing, the lakes. This place was like a little sanctuary, South Carolina. So came out here and transferred with another furniture company, Rhodes Furniture, and worked for the Lowenstein family for about 2.5, 3 years. We opened up 66 stores in 3 years.
Whoa.
And North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And I traveled around and hired and trained the salespeople. And it was a burnout. And that's when I turned to real estate. At that point, I really thought I was getting a calling to go to ministry, but ended up in the real estate business. So that's that background.
Yeah. What did you originally do in the real estate business? Because when you took the leap from the furniture store into real estate, how was that transition like?
And how old were you?
So I was 27. So, I didn't go to college, and it went straight into furniture sales, working with the family furniture sales. And it was, I was making good money in sales. That's the challenge with a professional career compared to a sales career. Salespeople can have literally no formal education and make a ton of money.
Right.
And so just transferring over real estate was actually just pretty natural for me. Sales is sales. Yeah. And I used to say I'd made 5% selling furniture, but 5% selling houses was a lot better deal because, a couch was $400 back then and a house was $100. So it was a lot more money. And I remember my first day being a model home sales agent, which was my entry into the business. I worked on Mother's Day was my first day as a new home model sales agent. I sold 2 houses. I made a month's pay on those 2 houses compared to what I was making in the furniture business. And I was like, oh, this is easy. and the rest is kind of history. As I said before, one of the reasons I love to share opportunities like this is it's a long journey. Life's a long journey. And I'll be 70 on my next birthday. And we've had a lot of ups and downs in the career, but God is good, and we've been broke twice, and we're doing really well right now. And told my wife, man, if we continue this blessing, maybe we'll die rich this time. So we're gonna try to hang on to it this time around.
Right after you made that transition, did you involve yourself in any of the trades during the construction of the homes, or was it strictly on the business side?
Wow, what a great question. So I didn't really have a business background, and I definitely I don't have any trade gift at all. And it always amazed me. One of the things I really loved about being on the job sites was just the skills of everybody, like they made it look easy. And I always kind of wanted that, but I didn't have that gift. And so I came into it exclusively from a sales perspective, and I think if we've had any success, it's probably related to that a lot because sales will overcome a lot. Like, we talked a little bit about COVID before the show too. And anytime there's a big change in business and in the economy, the guys that make it are the guys that know how to keep going. Like, get the next sale, get the next deal. If you're a framer, you can't be a framer if you haven't sold a company on your ability to do the framing for them. Yeah. That comes from a relationship, right? And that's all sales is a relationship. So usually when the economy's down, they've got a lot of choices.
It's funny you touch COVID and sales. The way we got started back in 2020, when he and I and our father, we were working for a contractor at the time. And when COVID started, the contractor told us, well, I don't have another project lined up, and we're doing commercial framing and multifamily and leasing offices, decks, breezeways, just lots of miscellaneous framing on these commercial sites. But he didn't have anything lined up for us, and with him and I, we'd be paired up together. But I told him, I was like, there's got to be more to life than just kind of swinging the sledgehammer and putting in squash blocks in between the joys on 4-story buildings. We were counting the units. We're like, well, we got about 200 more units to go. And COVID kind of accelerated that because we had already had talks about doing something else. But when COVID started, we just went to builders and to clients and decks and fences, knocking on the doors, see who needed a fence, needed a deck, needed framing. And behind it, every 10 no's, there's one yes. And that's what it takes to snowball. And I think sales is crucial, and it's monumental part of the business.
It is.
Yeah.
So many people get lost in what I call the momentum. Like if you tried to push a train to a start, it's dead stopped on the tracks and it's 100 tons or whatever a train. Oh, yeah. This is how it is, right? And the whole sales business had trained us that what we called a sales funnel. You got to talk to 100 people, 20 of them are potential customers, and 3 of them will buy. So your goal every day was talk to 100 people. Your goal wasn't make 3 sales, because it would be frustrating to talk to 100 people if you're trying to get 3 sales, right? But if your goal for the day was just to talk to 100 people, the 3 sales are going to come, right? And that's what you guys did. You didn't give up. You didn't get tired. So I think that sales background is what really created the momentum for the business. And anytime it got bad during the recession of '08, which, how old were you in '08?
I was, what is that?
Middle school? Yeah. 12.
Yeah, middle school,
So
late elementary.
They're teaching it in college now, and they call it the GFC. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's the Great Financial Crisis. So they've named '08 GFC because there was nothing like it, right? Everything stopped. Well, I had a CFO at the time, and we had a whiteboard exactly like that one behind you. It was that size. And man, I would start lamenting, which is I don't know if that's a biblical word that I love a lot, because lamenting it's letting it go, right? You've got to get it out. It's like grieving. Yeah. Lamenting is. It's not complaining. Complaining, you're going to die, right? If you complain.
Looking in the rearview mirror.
Right. But lamenting is like, man, this is really hard, So I'd go in and I'd be lamenting on him, and he would get up real slow. He must have done this 20 times. He'd take out that marker and he'd write sales, sales, sales. He said, if you'll focus on these 3 things, I'll take care of everything else. And I said, okay. So, we had this idea that build 1 house, find 1 customer, get 1 mortgage, and have 1 closing. So when we woke up in the morning, that's all we had to focus on. We used to focus on 10 or 20. And if your mind stays there, you're in trouble. So said, we got to have 1. And if everybody will put their effort into 1, then when we get it, guess what we do? We go get another one, and another one, and another one. And we get that momentum back going. That happens from sales. Executives still don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, they still, like, people in accounting think they're the smart ones. The superintendents think they're the smart ones. But, it's all sales-based.
Right.
Without that client. And here's the other really tough part is, what you do and what I do is not proprietary. Like, somebody else can do what you do. Somebody else can do what I can do. I have this old saying, it's a good one. It said, the recipes for a cake is on the box, but not everybody can bake a cake. So the information is the same, but people can't execute. They'll find reasons not to execute. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. Why are people not successful? Yeah. You guys came up hard, working hard, right? Yeah. And you're successful today, but you're successful because you work hard. You get up every day.
Yeah. I remember the '08, it was, my dad was a carpenter, and he was on a crew. He worked on a crew. He did residential, commercial. He framed a lot of the houses here in the Midlands, a lot of Lake Carolina, Jacobs Creek, out by the Northeast. But he'd be the first one to tell us that we would ask for something, a toy or a luxury or go to the movies or vacation. And back in '08, no, we can't. And looking back now, I can't put myself in first person and imagine why, but now doing some research and digging, it was tough.
It was a tough time.
But what you didn't know, and this is how life really is that was a blessing and you didn't know it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it gave you the ethic that you have today, right? That you wouldn't have otherwise. The entitled people go around, and when things don't go their way, they get mad and they quit and all this stuff. And, they wonder why. I'll tell you a quick story, okay? Do you guys like Goya beans?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had a guy call me, and this happens all the time, said, hey, Wade, can you go have coffee with me? So I know what that means. My hair's white. I'm almost 70. They want advice, right? And here's what I learned about a lot of people on advice. They don't want advice. What they want is for you to verify that what they're thinking is right, and it's not. They don't want to hear hard advice. They're looking for easy answers. So I said, I've adopted this thing where I say, hey, man, I would love to, but before we can go, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go to the store and buy a can of Goya beans. And he'd go, why? I said, because that's the first step in us getting together. I just need you to go buy a can of Goya beans. So, a week later, 2 weeks later, I run into this guy. And I say, hey, man, how's it going? He's kind of embarrassed. He said, hey, I'd still like to get together for breakfast. I said, did you ever get the beans? He said, no, but you know what? I'm probably going to do it. So like a week later, the guy calls me and he said, hey, I went to the store. I said, did you go to the store? You were in the store. He said, I was in the store and I got a can of Goya beans. Can we have a meeting? And I said, no, we don't need a meeting now. And he said, why? I said, because take the can of Goya beans and set them on your desk and turn the label till you can see the word Goya. Goya. You know what that stands for? Stands for get off your ass. And if you'll just do that every day, earlier the better, you're going to be amazed what happens to you. And then try that for like a year and then call me. We'll have coffee.
Compound, the principle of compound. You work, show up every day, and you might not see it the first week, first month, first year, the first 5 years. But you compound those small victories over time, and that's when you'll start seeing the forward momentum.
Yeah.
That's him and I on the hard days, weeks, months. We sit on the whiteboard and just lay everything out, but something always comes up. Just got to keep compounding the small victories, and sales gets thrown in there a lot. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's where it's at, right? You agree? So,
yeah.
Are you going to buy you a can of Goya beans?
I think so.
We got enough of them.
Just to remind you every day,
Yeah.
man, or leave a can in here for everybody that
Yeah.
comes in. So.
Well, Mr. Wade, what's another piece of hardball advice? Maybe not what people want to hear, but need to hear. From somebody who's starting up an entrepreneur or a startup business, what would be one piece of advice, a hardball advice that you'd give?
Well, it might be more than one, but I think one of the most important ones is that you are your brand. So somebody working for you isn't really working for you, right? So I follow the New Testament. The New Testament says work like you're working unto the Lord. So we're supposed to get up and work every day like we're working on the Lord. I said, but what about if we have an evil ruler like Rome or today, whatever? What do we do? I said, no, God's got control of that. You just get up and do the right things every day, right? And that's the most important thing you can do. So your value system and the value system of the people around you are the most important thing. So like I would go tell a job superintendent today, my best superintendent, I say, when you're out in the field and you're doing a great job for our company, so the trade partners see you, the lumber salesman sees you, the customers see you, right? And then somebody calls you and they offer you a job making $20,000 more than I'm paying you. Are they doing that because you're working for me or because all those people have been spreading it around that you're the best they've seen? I've got 25 project managers, right? And so why would somebody be talking about one person? Because the guy's outstanding, loves the people around him, serving everybody. Hey, vendor, partner, never doing a dry run. He would make sure nobody ever comes and the job's not ready. Just respecting people, respecting their time. Hey, you know, he knows whether you got kids, whether they're playing ball. He knows the health of your wife, you know, and not because he interviewed you, because he's in relationship with people around him and he's got values. That's the advice right there, man. When you're the best version of you and you Goya, you don't need no advice.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a question on here. He's like, what are your core values? Why are your core values important for your team? And could the company run without them? No.
No. And we ran into a big problem about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So we've expanded so fast. You know, we're in Savannah, we're in Greenville, and we've got projects going every little market in between, Lawrence, you know, Aiken, Sumter, Augusta, all this stuff. And we would find all these little rogue groups in our company, you know, people like thinking they've got to fill a void and just start decision making outside of our value system, right? And I'm going like, maybe we've got 5 core values. If you asked 100 employees, you know what our 5 core values is. I don't think one of them can tell you all 5 of them. The CEO can, because he's always leading on that. He's just a great leader on the value side of the equation. And so I went into a house and they had there was tile backsplash in the house. I went, oh my God, like, when did we start putting in, we don't put in tile backsplashes. So I went over to the model home. I said, what's going on? I said, yeah, well, the new sales manager came in and said, in this market over here in Lexington, we got to have these tile backsplashes. Okay. So sales were off in this subdivision. And so I got with the team, the executive team, and her, and I said, you know what the problem is? That when you were looking at the market study and you were trying to figure out how we're going to compete in any market, because we got to figure out how to compete, all of us do, you thought that we had to do something that our competition was doing. And here's what I think. As soon as we start doing what they're doing, we're no longer competing. That there's no because they've got a design studio with 8,000 items in it. We don't have a design studio. So not only do they get a tile backsplash, but maybe they get to choose between 8 and a pot filler. And the next thing you know, there's 5 floor covering colors and all this stuff. So she said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think because based on the lot price, we had to be above 300,000 retail. I said, you should have got every person that's going to touch this project in the conference room and figured out how to build the house for $299. You needed to figure out what needed to come out of the house, still be a great value for our customer and our company, reflect on us well. And so I came up with this, and we're living by it now. We serve the underserved new home buyer, period. So that's the filter that you can run. When you're trying to make a decision as an executive with our company, how is this serving the underserved new home buyer? So we of course we have competition, right? But I think one of the main secrets behind our success is we create more value in the things that we do give the customer than the things we don't. We build a better house that you have less of a selection, but the stuff we put in the house is better because we're buying more of it. Mm-hmm. And so we've only got one countertop color, one shingle color, one flooring color, for instance. So if you went to Mohawk and asked, who buys more of this floor covering than we do? Nobody. People that are twice, 3 times our size because they have too many offerings. So am I your best customer on this product? Yes, sir, you are. Then we get the best price. And if we get the best price, guess what our customer gets?
The better price.
The best price. Mm-hmm. And it's a value chain that just cannot be changed. And people fall in love with what they do, and it helps them make a bad decision. Like I've met tradesmen that just thought, well, I'm the best, so I'm going to charge 50 cents more a foot. You just have to see how that works for you, because when tough times come along, you're also going to be the first person gone. The person making the most is always the first gone. So it's a lot there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
And again, I don't mind talking about this stuff because we could talk about it all day long. And people will try to do it and they can't. And why they can't, I don't know. Some people can dance. I can't dance. So it's not proprietary, right? You can go take dance lessons. And I'm the worst golfer you ever seen, and I love to golf. So,
Well, speaking of dancing and golfing, what are some hobbies that keep you busy outside of work?
oh, golfing and fishing, not a lot because I really love to work and I really love my family. Spend a lot of time with my family. So we have family gatherings. We all love boating and swimming, and so we got a pool and we got a house at the lake. We have a house at the beach, and so we spend a lot of time together. And so that's really a good thing. But it was funny because one of my partners told me this morning. He said, I said, he gave me, I got a gift for you. He gave me a gift of some baits, some fishing baits. Yeah. And he said, I know you're a terrible fisherman, but these baits will really help you a lot. And I said, okay, that's great. And I said, because I went fishing this week and I really did terrible. And he said, well, it's a good thing you didn't go golfing. And I said, why? He said, you know the difference between fishing and golfing? I said, what? He said, if you're a bad golfer, everybody knows it. But if you're a bad fisherman, the fish weren't biting.
Point fingers though.
You like saltwater fishing or freshwater fishing?
I don't freshwater fish at all, so just saltwater fishing.
Just saltwater?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get skunked a lot freshwater fishing, And I know you're a fisherman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to be like a professional fisherman.
No,
I have checked in on you, right?
He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
Are you a bass fisherman or what do you do?
Bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, you can take me out.
I love pond hopping. Some of the ponds that I like to go to aren't exactly public, but they say the more private the pond, the bigger the bass.
Yeah.
The other day I was driving, probably 2 years ago, I was driving by the airport, the Columbia Airport. They have a spillway, and I have a telescoping rod that I keep with me and a light tackle. And I had a 6-pound test line on it and a Senko. I just casted it. I had 15 minutes to spare to kill, and lo and behold, I had my tape measure. I didn't have a scale. A 22-inch bass, mouth like this big. It's probably about a 7 or 8 pounder, but I was there for about 15 minutes trying to reel it in without the line snapping. But that's what makes it fun, I feel like.
I can't figure out why that's so satisfying, but it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I've never been saltwater fishing, but I'm pretty sure it's that magnified by a lot.
Well, when we were young, we fished offshore and caught a lot of big fish, and then the older you get, you realize it's such a beating going out and coming back. It's not worth the effort. Yeah. Now we fish in the marsh. So I was out day before yesterday, and big thing in South Carolina is redfish. So that's what we do. We redfish.
Yeah.
That was my next question. I was going to ask you if you ever caught a shark.
Oh, yeah. So the kids always wanted, especially my younger grandkids, they always want to go fishing, but it's really disappointment to take a kid unless they're like catching fish. So there's a place down there near our house at Isle of Palms that it's called a shark hole. So it's where the inlet comes into the intercoastal waterway, and it's really crazy. If you weren't down there, you wouldn't know this. So it's a spot. It's 81 feet deep. So the intercoastal waterway on average is about 20 feet deep, 16 to 20 feet deep. And then there's just a hole. It's 81 feet. And these big sharks live in there, and they're all layered up. And so you can get over there with your radar, and you can just catch sharks all day.
Whoa.
So, and it's a lot of fun. The kids just have a blast.
How big are we talking?
Well, it depends on your hook and your bait. So we don't like to catch anything over like 3 or 4 feet so we can release it. If you get anything bigger than that, you're gonna have a mess with a bunch of kids, and you got a bunch of lines in the water, and they just end up circling up and messing all the gear up. So, yeah, definitely. But I'm not. I've never been a big hobby guy, so I love to work.
Yeah.
And I'm also a guy that could stay at the beach all day. Like I could go down there like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m.
I can't do that.
I know.
And after a couple hours in the sand and places that shouldn't be in the sun, you're just like, it's time to go inside.
Yeah. Well, if I'd been a framer, I would hate it because my son-in-law is a framer. He's a contractor. He runs crews now, and man, he hates the beach. Like that's because he spent so much of his life out in the sun.
Yeah. I call it self-preservation mode. I think when I hit 30, I said, click that on, And I'm bald too, so it's like,
He used to frame without a shirt, sunrise to sunset, and our mom always be like, put a shirt on, put a hat on, this, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, he got a long sleeve hoodie and a bucket hat.
Yeah, last month he's like, man, look at these spots on me. I'm like, well, you should have listened to mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rebellious. It went away. Goya. That goes back to the Goya story. It's like a lot of people don't want to listen to advice. They just, I realized that, being a young man and maturing, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of things that we did maybe we shouldn't have done. And, but I guess you live and you learn, that kind of deal. One of the things that our dad taught us to growing up framing was you have to finish what you do and you have to finish it right? Because if you don't do it right the first time, you have to go back and do it. And you're gonna spend twice the time, and it's pointless to do that. So he really taught us to just do it right the first time. And it wasn't like a lecture, it wasn't like a preaching, it was just watch me. Watch how you cut the board for me, hand it to me, and watch how I nail it. Boom, boom. And that's how you do it. And I think that was one of the things that I gotta say, for me, I didn't really rebel against Dad on that part. It's like, all right, we gotta do it right. But I think it went because he really didn't preach it to us. He didn't like lecture us on it. He kind of just had us watching him, and we were like, well, I guess that it.
What I rebelled was with carrying a whole bunch of studs on the shoulder and lifting up heavy things. And he was like, you're gonna feel it when you're older. And now I'll be 30 this year. And I'm like, well, he was on to something. Yeah. Unlock new knee pains and new back pains, and you're just like,
right.
Okay. Wrist. I'm like, why is my wrist hurting? But it's.
It's funny, just sociology is that prior to, probably the 40s, the 1940s, like people lived intergenerationally, and people outside the U.S. especially, you'd have parents, grandparents, maybe even great-grandparents all living in the house, right? Yeah. And so this advice was like wisdom in the old days, and people did take it. There wasn't this rebellious nature per se. There was always a rebeller, among people, but people received wisdom a lot better, I think. And that's one of the things that's missing today, because we don't live intergenerationally anymore. Everybody's got their own place, and you can't wait to bust out on your own and do it your way. But golly, man, life would be a lot easier if we took the advice of the people that loved us.
Wow. That's how him and I differ a lot. I spent a lot of time with my parents. When he was 18, he moved out of Florence. He was a superintendent, actually, for, 6 years? Mm-hmm. So as soon as he turned 18, he moved out to Florence, and it was just independence and out in the wild, wild west of the PD area.
Hyper independence.
Yeah.
Hyper independence, yeah. It wasn't until later on, like at 25, 26, 27. 27 was it, probably 28, when the mindset shifted to being together. Yeah. The more we are, the stronger we are, the more versatile, the more flexible, the more fluid we can move as a team. And that's when we started really seeing it, tribe, to function as a tribe. And I think that has really helped the team out, because we no longer believe in the whole lone wolf mentality or solo or the hyper independence that you see a lot today. Is we stay away from it because we know that together as numbers, I think it's more.
It takes a team, a village for growth. There's a saying, I don't want to butcher it, but it's like, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go as a team.
Right.
How do you guys, with a spread out team, doing hard labor all the time, how do you guys keep your team together and loving to work here and growing?
So we don't have a huge turnaround. I think most of the guys that been with us have been with us since the start. Jose's actually, he was with us when we moved in here. And a lot of the people that are our field supervision team is we've known them for a long time too. So we have, and we're all from a lot of us are from the same hometown, but the values that we share are like the Goya values. We employ people that are go-getters, that are driven, that have the same goals as us, and I'm not sure what we're doing that's different, but it's worked out. So we've had retention, and we've had a good we haven't had a good turnover, so we don't lose people. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you guys handle it when somebody busts out on their own?
We actually had some rogueness going on with one or two of our guys, and I think right after we experienced that, we kind of sat down and did the core values. I'm gonna be sincere and tell you right now that when McGuinn hosted the annual meeting downtown, and we the CEO went over the core values. In my mind, we were sitting up front. We were at the table up front. And we were looking at it, and I was taking notes down. Generate core values for a company. That was one of the biggest things, and now we have them. We've got one in English. We've got one in Spanish. We've showed it to our team. We've repeated it to our team. But to answer your question, I think the key thing that keeps the team strong, high retention, and keeps them motivated, hard labor, is our ability to act, to not preach to them or not lecture them, but we've shown them that we can also go out in the field and do this thing ourselves. And I think that there's a level of respect there because they see that we're not just going to bark out an order, or we're not just going to tell them, hey, go up on that roof and do this, do that. They know that we'll put on the tool belt and go up there as well. So I think
And more specifically into your question, when we first started, we kind of had a fear of, what if we show them too much and they go out doing themselves? But as the time goes by, there's the abundance mentality is what's helped us grow. There's enough work to go around for everybody. There's been times where members of our team are like, I have an interest of starting my own company. I was like, you know what, any questions you have, any doubts you may have, dealing with insurance, dealing with inspectors, the city, the county,
Right.
just being a point of knowledge and resources for them. You got to come from an abundant mentality, which, South Carolina being one of the states that, if not the most growth happening, I think there's an abundance of work for everybody.
I'll share a funny story with you. So, do you guys know Richard Romero? He used to be one of the owners of Hurricane. He's not anymore, but his brother Jose took over Hurricane. And Richard went on to do something else. But this was funny, like years ago. I'm talking about, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, maybe longer, 20 years ago. So those guys used to go to the gym every morning. I went to the gym. So all these guys were at Gold's every morning at 5 o'clock. So I'd see Richard and Jose at the gym. And so I never really connected with Jose, but Richard and I kind of hit it off, and we became good acquaintances, and we would chat all the time, about different stuff. So one day, and then everybody usually would go over to IHOP after the workout. So one day I was going, man, this guy working for me, he just went out on his own and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just all cranked up about this guy leaving me and going out on his own. And Richard's looking at me and he said, "Are you serious, man?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How did you get started?" He said, "I can tell you how I got started." He said, "I was working for a guy and went out on my own." I said, "Okay, that's fair." He said, "Man, you just got to let it go. It's abundance mentality, man. There's enough for everybody. And if he's not good, he'll be back. If he's good, then celebrate with him that you had a time with him, And that's the only thing that I would share, with you guys. One of the things I would share with you guys today is that let those guys know, man, that if anybody ever wanted to do that, come and, have breakfast with you and talk about the struggle and, be willing to release people because, somebody having to sneak around or, feel like they're, going against their own ethics, trying to go out on their own. Man, if God's calling them to go out on their own, then he got you what you got, and he'll get what he gets.
Transparency is a big key. We actually have a guy, and he's like our director of construction. He helps a lot. He helps us out in the field with our day-to-day operations. But since the start, he's always told us, you know what? My goal was to start my own company, and I was like, if it would make him and I more happy now in this day and age to see him grow and elevate than it would to just, you know what, you rode with us and you never grew into your full potential. And I think breaking that ceiling is a bigger joy than just seeing somebody walk beside you or behind you for X amount of years. But
And the loyalty, man,
Yeah.
for you saying that to him,
Yeah.
Working both ways is so awesome. And I would always, I would tell, when I was running the company full time, I would tell the guys, if you decide to go and you don't train your replacement, I will hunt you down and kill you. So I'm all for you going and having a great life, doing whatever you want to do. But, don't be afraid to ever share it with me. Say, hey, my plan maybe a year out is I'm saving right now to do it, or I've got these opportunities. Then let's get one of the guys on your team and bring him up, let him start riding with you and learning a few things, and make sure you don't leave me hanging, man, because I need you. I couldn't train the guy as good as you are, but you can train the guy as good as you are. And it's a good trade-off, man. That's just the way. I think that's the way the whole business works. With you think about, we're a business of journeymen anyway, right? Guys that start out as helpers. And so you got time for another story?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you another story. And about 2 weeks ago, a really good friend of mine from the mission field passed away, and his funeral was in Indiana, some remote farm village in Indiana. And I had to fly up to Louisville with my wife, and we stayed there, and it was about an hour drive to where the funeral was. So we stayed for a couple of days, and we were staying at the Omni. And the Omni in Louisville, and I'm probably saying Louisville wrong, I think they call, they say it with a different accent, but Louisville, Kentucky is about the size of Columbia, but is the epicenter of the bourbon world. Like, that's where all bourbon is made. Like Bullet, Maker's Mark, everything's made right there. Kentucky Derby is there, and Louisville Slugger, man, it's the baseball place on the planet, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like any of those three things. I don't drink bourbon. I don't like baseball, and it's not horse racing season. I might want to go see a Kentucky Derby sometime, but I'm not really that interested in it. But we were there, and this hotel was world class. I mean, the Omni there, like, my wife and I have traveled everywhere, literally just about everywhere all over the planet. And this place was, had 5 restaurants in it, marble floors, had a rooftop pool bar, and just really, really nice place. Completely understaffed. Service was terrible. And so we're staying in this corner suite, 750 square foot glass suite looking out over the city, and we're just having a great time. So we go up to, the day we got there, it's like 3 p.m, we go up to the rooftop, we order a drink, it never comes. And the people around us, a few Karens are going, hey, I ordered, a hot dog for my kid an hour ago, where is it? And I'm watching this whole thing unfold. From the time we got out of our vehicle, nobody helping us with the bags. My wife's got all kind of health issues, so I'm trying to help her and get the bags and everything. And I'm just watching, and this dude that's running the bar is doing everything that he can. Like, he is trying hard, And so he was frustrated, I could tell. I finally got my drink, so I sat down a minute. I thought, we were voted #1 employer in South Carolina. I don't know if you guys knew that this year.
I did.
And not for construction companies, all companies. So, and Nate and those guys really just built a great culture, at the company. And we've got a lot of good people, and I think we have good service. So I went over to the bar and I said, what's your name? And the guy was probably 30 years old, 28 years old. He said, my name's Sol, S-O-L. And I said, Sol, here's what I got. I laid 5 $20 bills on the counter. And I said, I want you to take that $100. And he said, I don't think so. He said, why do you want me to take it? I said, because you showed up today. I said, dude, I know you're frustrated. I know it's been a long day. Saturday, it's 98 degrees. You're the only bartender at a pool bar in the middle of the summer. You got the Karens going wild out here at the pool, calling you all kind of names. I said, that $100 isn't for great service. That $100 is for showing up today.
Wow.
He said, that's awesome. Well, that wasn't the end of the story. So got back home. A few days later, I got a survey from Omni Hotel. So you get done with the survey, 2 minutes, and it'll say, hey, do you want to do more? Yeah. I did the whole 20 minutes. It was 4 sections, typed in all my answers. And I was like, you got this world-class facility. I'm literally world-class facility, and it's completely understaffed and poorly trained. And so this is a true story. So like 30 minutes after I sent the survey, the general manager of the hotel calls me on my cell phone. And he goes, man, thanks for filling out this survey. He said, I'm really sorry for the experience you had. I said, it's not the experience I had. I said, all your customers had that experience. Mm-hmm. I said, you're the general manager of, I can't even imagine what that place is worth. $500 million probably of infrastructure. It's a city, it's a square city block of glass and marble. Yeah. And it's completely understaffed. And I said, and the only world-class service we got within 2 blocks of your hotel was at Chick-fil-A. So you know what that tells me? It's not a labor problem. It's a you problem. Because the people at Chick-fil-A showed up and were showing off because they're valued there, they're trained well, they're compensated properly, and they're loved. And so I told him the story about Saul, what happened. I said, you got one guy that showed up. He said, man, I am going to have that. We have an all-employee meeting on Friday mornings. He said, I'm going to have Saul come up and tell that story. And I said, well, you don't know the real end of the story. He said, what is it? I said, before Nate came, the CEO of our company was a guy named Mike Kelly. Did you ever meet Mike?
I don't think I ever met Mike.
So Mike started out as a punch man. And 22 years of showing up, Goya, he became the CEO of the company. And I won't tell you what he made, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
He started doing punch out with you guys?
He started as a punch man when he was a trim carpenter. His father passed away. He was about 17, 18 years old. And he came to me and said, hey, I just never worked without my dad, so you got anything I can do? And I said, yeah, just come be a service tech. And he came to the company as a service tech and just every day, man, like a sponge, you know?
Yeah.
Always showed up, always learning, always doing something more, extra, right?
Initiative.
And I told Saul that story that day. I said, you showed up. I told him about Mike Kelly. I said, Mike ended up 22 years. It didn't happen overnight. Life don't happen overnight. Go buy lottery tickets if you want to change your life overnight, because 20 years from now, you're still going to be broke, and you're going to have a bunch of lottery tickets. It don't work that way. And so, you know, you do it the right way. You could be not only the general manager of this hotel, it's possible for you to own this place because you showed up. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want the whole day to get away without, everybody loves swag.
You got me dying.
Like swag.
You've been staring at those,
the deal is, like, we don't know why we love to catch a fish, but like, you feel like you're 12 years old all over again, man. Your heart starts going, and you can't wait to see what it is that comes out of the water, right?
Yeah.
So swag and fish are the same. So here, take your swag bags. There's no big secrets in there or anything, but it's cool stuff, and you can have McGuinn all over your stuff because
Thank you.
That's how we promote ourselves with all that stuff. What's inside there?
Appreciate that.
So let's see what you got.
Let's see.
I'm setting the bar here too for people coming on your show, man. They better bring a swag bag.
All right.
There's no Goya beans in there, by the way. But you won't see anybody with the white hats.
Oh yeah.
You got to be the big boss to have a white hat.
I've been golfing one time, and I think I'm gonna go again.
That's a serious golf hat there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, putting that on right now.
Yeah.
Golf towel.
Oh, it looks good.
Gloves.
Yeah.
This check.
Yeah. We're 2 weeks behind, but can you hold it till Friday?
Let's see. Thank you so much. This is a personal letter here. Appreciate this. All right.
That's for your secret margarita with our foundation stuff on there.
Secret juice only.
Yeah.
Only on Fridays.
Yeah.
Friday starts at 11 a.m.
On Wednesday.
Got a koozie here. got a koozie
That
here
won't
for
fit
the
in there. That's only for your
secret margarita.
other drinks. Yeah.
This is where this is for golf, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Golf right here.
Or you just throw it in your toolbox.
And we got a candle here.
Yeah.
McGuinn Homes.
If you're married, why do women love candles? I haven't figured that out, but I mean, there's whole stores at the mall that sells candles. That's crazy.
I got a couple at the apartment. I love candles. And I got one of these.
Flashlight, lights out.
Brian actually gave me one of these.
Okay,
at
good.
at the BIA. So now I have two of these.
Brian giving out our swag. I like that.
Appreciate that. Big fan of pens. Got a McGuinn pen here. Got one of these in my office. Now I have two. And got my lunch bag.
Now you got your lunch bag. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So everybody's on a diet these days, so you have to bring all your vegetables in there.
How did you know?
Yeah.
How did you know we are? That's us right there.
Yeah.
We before you came in, Renee and I were out front. We were just talking about our, we've been hitting the gym and trying to get jacked here. You've been weightlifting for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I just got into it. You used to hit the gym with
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. But I was never trying to get, just weight control, flexibility, stay. And then about 5 years ago, man, I was like, when I was 65, I was like, man, I'm sore every day, and I'm just not going to do it anymore. So now I eat whatever I want, and I don't go to the gym. So, but I'm super active.
Yeah.
So,
I got to ask you this. Did you meet Nate at the gym?
no, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because that's a big part of our story.
He's a runner, right?
So he's big time runner. Like he runs, I forgot what he told me, like 80 miles a week.
Whoa.
And so like he'll run every morning 6 or 8 miles, and then he does like a 15-mile run once a week on Saturday or something. So, but Nate and I told you thought I was supposed to go to seminary and be a pastor, and I didn't. But we did a lot of short-term mission work. Me and my wife, all my kids, spent a lot of time in the mission field, and so when we opened our mission in Haiti, we started taking groups to Haiti. So people would call us and they'd say, hey, we want to go to Haiti and visit the orphanage. And it was like, especially in the summertime, we'd take 2 or 3 groups in the summertime down. And I met Nate on a mission trip. He came to the orphanage in Haiti. So we had to drive. The plane wasn't working, so we had to fly. We had to drive from Port-au-Prince out to Jeremy. It's only like 150 miles, but it takes 7 hours. You can't go like 10 miles an hour. It's like over the mountain in a Jeep, in a Land Rover, a real Jeep. And so there was 9 guys. We were in 2 Jeeps, all packed in. And we just talked for like 6 hours, Nate and I did. And I found out that he was an MBA and a CPA, but he was also, his job was the executive pastor at a large church, 5,000 member church. So a 5,000 member church has like 50 employees, big budget. So he knew a lot. He'd worked as an auditor for the state of Ohio and stuff. So when Mike retired, the guy that was the punch guy, he retired. And he gave me, this was funny too, he gave me a 3-year notice. He said, I know you're never going to let me leave, so I'm telling you right now, 3 years on this date, I'm leaving, and you can't pretend like you're surprised or did anybody replace me. He knew how it was because I would start crying and beg him not to leave, and then people would stay. And he said, you're not pulling that on me, I'm leaving, so find somebody else. So I'm getting advice from everybody, like, who should I get to run the company? It's just getting bigger and bigger. And I wasn't good at running the company. I was good when the company was up to, about 200 houses. I managed it pretty well. But then all these millennials came in, and I couldn't relate very well as a boss. And so I saw a little bit of a disconnect there, and I knew the company needed to keep moving forward. So we just needed some leadership. So one of my good friends said, he said, you're not going to find the guy you're looking for. He said, just find somebody that's an MBA and a CPA. I thought that's really weird because the only guy that I know that's MBA and a CPA I met on that mission trip when we went to Haiti, right? So I called Nate up. I was like, hey, dude, you want to come to work and be the CEO of this company? He's like, no, I don't. Like, what are you doing? I'm an executive pastor at a church. And I said, well, I don't want to be a contractor either. I said, God made all this happen, and I really believe that God would really like you to come here and run the company. So he said no, and then I called him back a couple months later, and he said yes. And that's how Nate came to be. So he had never been a CEO before, and And we went from when he took over, I think we were at about 250 closings, and we'll do about 1,400 this year under his leadership. So we've really grown. Very, very financially smart guy, and my partners are a financial group, and so they really liked how astute he was in that area. They know I'm real sales driven and more operational guy, and they really liked, as we were growing fast, to have a really good business acumen at the helm, and he just does a great job. And he's he's a great human. I keep waiting for him to crack. I try to make him crack, but I haven't been able to make him crack yet.
He's a long distance runner. Good luck with that.
There's no crack.
There's no crack. No.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, Mr. Wade, I got one more for you. If you weren't a builder, what would Wade McGuinn be doing?
Well,
real estate doesn't count.
So there's three choices. So by elimination, I'll tell you what I would be doing. So if I told, and my wife and I crack up about this all the time, had I become a pastor, which I would have been by the time I was 30, our church would just be me and her, because I would have ran everybody off. So I know God had a really good plan not to let me be a preacher. So that's out. And then my second choice, my whole youth, I wanted to be a pilot. And so I went and, went through the whole pilot training thing and all that. And honestly, I didn't have the confidence that it takes. Like at some point when you're flight training, you have to simulate crashing, but you have to do it in a real aircraft. So you have to stall the aircraft and recover from stalls and do all this stuff. And I just found out I wasn't the guy. Like if something really bad's happening on the plane and I'm driving it, you're going to die. So I said, I'm not the guy that would still be, I always watch those reels and the guy's going, okay, let's check this switch, this, and they're going,
Going through a whole checklist.
And they're super calm, and that's not me either. But honestly, because I really had to face it when in '08, the GFC, I honestly would have moved to Miami and sold boats. I'm a salesman, and my wife said, "Where did you come up with that?" And I was like, if you're a salesman, what better job would it be for an old man than hanging around the dock, talking to rich guys, going on test drives, and the commission on a $3 million boat's awesome. You only got to sell a couple a year, so it'd be a pretty pie job, and then I could just do my short-term missionary trip. So I'm grateful that I get to do what I do every day. I mean, I live grateful, being able to be in the construction business and being around guys like you guys my whole life, and really making my living with and from hardworking people is so gratifying, and the mutual respect that we try to all have for each other and realizing where we are is really a special place.
What's got to be the toughest thing in sales? Doing it for 40 years, what is the most challenging thing that one could face in sales? And what's the easiest thing? What is for you?
I think you nailed it earlier, just talking about you got to get through the nose, right? And so long as you could get yourself immune to the nose, then the rest of it, you got to have a relevant product, something somebody wants, And so if you've got something somebody wants, and just be good for relationships. So I don't know.
Can't sell snake oil.
Yeah, right. You got to believe in your product, 100%. That was. I've got a good friend that's a strong believer, and he was he worked for new car dealership for Chevrolet. And he said, I probably talk people out of as many cars as I sell. I'll get with them and look at their numbers and go you guys can't afford this car. You guys, you're going to probably buy one. I'm not going to sell it to you because it's going to ruin your finances. And so he would get in trouble all the time for that. But he was a real top producer, but he was always be honest with people,
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think I've never saw, it seemed like a gift to me. So I never really saw the downside of it. There's always going to be a place on the planet for the salesperson.
Yeah. And you sound like a natural, so.
You know what, though? Think about your business. Nothing moves in the whole world. Boats, planes, trains, automobiles. Nothing moves till something's sold.
Right.
Nothing.
So there's an agreement between seller and buyer.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I say it's the second oldest business there ever was.
What's the first?
I think we all know what that is.
Come on, man. Come on.
I know you throw out episodes for people talking raw, so I don't want my episode thrown out.
I stopped thinking once you said that. I was like, yeah, I know the first one. Yeah.
So second old profession is, was the fabric salesman back in the ancient times.
The first profession actually has to perform the second profession as well first in order to perform the first.
Which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
Man, thank you guys so much, man.
Mr. Wade, we appreciate your time. Time is the most important thing we all have, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. Relationships are the best, so we appreciate you guys and what you're doing out in the community. This, which would, hopefully, as this thing builds and gets bigger, that you'll spark people to find out what God's calling them to do, and, that they'll take a chance and go out and do something as a result of hearing one of these.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to me and Renee here today, as far as our framing business? To maybe, let's say we want to hone in on our niche and maybe scale it. What is one solid piece of advice that you would give us?
I can tell you what worked for us. Okay, and it's like I said, the recipe's on the cake box, but everybody can't bake a cake. So for us, we knew that we had to make it simple, and we had to make it replicable. Mm-hmm. You had to be able to do it over and over and over again. And so the simpler it is, the better it was, right? And so in business, the theory is called hedgehog. So there's a book called Good to Great, and so good is the enemy of great. And I'll tell you why. So if you go into a restaurant and you had, an okay meal and okay service, and the manager's standing there at the door and you're leaving, and he said, "How was your dinner tonight?" You would probably say, "It was good," right? And it wasn't. But if the service was great and, the food was excellent, you would stop and say, "Man, it was fantastic. I'm coming back next Thursday, or I'm going to tell my mom about this place," or whatever. So it's the difference between good and great. Good really doesn't exist, and it never lasts. Great does. Find one thing, hone in on it. They call it hedgehog, and get really good at it. So for us, what is our mission? Our mission is to serve the underserved new home buyer. So it's mission-based on the user, right? And who's underserved. So for us, it makes it kind of a filter for that. So in your business, like in the framing business, if I had a tagline at a 40-year career for a framing company, it would be, as a matter of fact, I'd probably have a big tattoo of your dad on my arm. That one thing that he taught you, always finish. And I think if somebody came to me and they said, "Hey, we're looking for framing work, and we know right now it's paying $2.10 or whatever it pays. And I'm going to tell you this, if you'll give me volume, I'll give you a volume pricing, but I want POs 20 at a time, 30 at a time. It's always a negotiation. But here's what I'll tell you to be different than anybody you ever dealt with. I will always finish every job before I go to the next one. Always. And where I've seen failure in the framing business, once people scale, is they don't have a QC person. So when the lead carpenter calls and says, "Hey, we're done. We're going to, we're done with lot A. We're going to lot B." Nobody leaves lot A until there's a QC. So I'm going to grab that crew. Initially, maybe everybody be present and walk that house. Now, when we walked houses back in the old days, and you asked me what time it is, and I'm telling you how to build a watch, but this is what I would do. So all of my guys, superintendents, had 6-foot levels in their truck. And so the difference between a 2-foot level and a 6-foot level, a 6-foot level never lies. A 2-foot level will lie to you, okay? And here's another thing you can't do with a 2-foot level. Use it horizontally. And I would walk through the house, big magic marker, and I'd run it through everywhere. Mark every stud that's sticking out, every pipe that's sticking out, every header that wasn't done right? Check every wall, every corner, everything in that house. And here's what I've learned about framing contractors. Hands down, when you train them right, they'll always do it right. That first 3 or 4 times be painful like pulling teeth, right? And they'll hate it, but you'll never do it again. Like they used to always install windows wrong back when this repetitive framing started happening. We would just send a crew out, and this is when Mike was CEO, and we would just do window installation training and just tell all the guys. Everybody had to be present. We'd bring lunch and say, always install a window like this. And then on your QC, are the windows installed right? Are they taped? Everything's right. And I believe if you did that, you would never, ever go hungry. I'm talking about, like we were talking about doing the GFC, one house, one mortgage, one closing. If there was one house built in Columbia, you'd frame it. That's what I'm saying. That would be the goal. Yes. Like if they have at that point they've got 100 choices. A rising ship floats all tides. If you're not working right now, it's because you're not breathing. Because there's a lot of work out there, right? Mm-hmm. You guys been through the lean times. You've seen your dad go through the lean times, right? And people that made it through the lean times were essential. How did they make themselves essential? These guys always finish everything. I don't have to worry about it. I don't even need to. When you get to the point where nobody checks your work, like you call and say, hey, the guys are headed over to B, A's done. If there's anything wrong with it, somebody broke in. It didn't happen by us.
Establish the trust.
But it takes wheels, man. It's like these core values. If you don't live it out and model it, I love what you said about your dad. Like, it wasn't a speech, right?
Yeah.
It was wax on, wax off, man. It was, let me show you how it's done. Model it. Get back in your trucks, get out in the field, buy everybody. I would like, what's your company color? Do you have a company color like our green?
Red, crimson red.
Okay, yeah. Paint all the 6-foot levels red, that color, and that'd be your hallmark right there. That would be your framing guarantee. My framing guarantee to my customer is it will always be finished. Always. My guy's got to go to Lowe's and get a sheet of plywood or, whatever. Yeah. The only thing you're not responsible for is missing doors and windows, which I don't know, it's epidemic. It's like socks in the dryer.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Where'd it go?
Well, Mr. Wade, we appreciate your time again.
Yeah, God bless you guys, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.